Alright, to do this test sample, I'm going to use this poly cotton fabric. And this is a poly cotton fabric that you can buy. Well, I got this at Walmart. It's really nice fabric. I've been using this fabric for years, and I really like it. But it's very lightweight, and I'm going to do a heavy satin stitch design on here as a test. So we have to stabilize this. And someone on one of the groups, on the Baby Lock groups, was asking me, what am I going to use to stabilize my woven fabric? So I replied, I said the same thing I always use to stabilize my woven fabrics. And for woven fabrics, we stabilize with a tearaway stabilizer. If you're new to embroidery, you use tearaway stabilizers for woven fabrics, and for knit fabrics, you use a cutaway. All right. So today I'm going to use this Totally Stable by Sulky. And I'm going to use actually 2 layers, and this is an iron-on stabilizer. If you don't have an iron-on stabilizer, but you have spray-based, you can use a spray-based with a tearaway stabilizer. But this is an iron-on, so this is going to stick by itself. Now, a couple things I want to discover that I want to explain to you that I discovered along the way. I have so much to say and I'm getting tongue-tied, so I'm sorry. I'm shooting this video at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so I use a gravity feed iron, okay? And right now there's nothing on my sole plate. But I normally have this Teflon. This is a Silver Star. It's a non-stick sole plate that we put on these irons, and this is a buffering felt pad that helps distribute the steam easier. You could see, I have this turned around, you can see where the steam comes out of this iron. It doesn't come out all over the iron. And you can see sometimes the water will turn this rust. So I just bought a filter for this water tank so I can get rid of the iron and stuff in the water. Anyway, I was ironing this stabilizer to the back of my fabric with this, and it just wasn't sticking. And I thought, did I have a bad roll? So I had another roll, and I stuck it on, and it wasn't sticking. And then I had another brand that I tried and wasn't sticking as well. And I'm like, well, what the heck is going on? And sometimes people will tell you, oh, if you keep things too long, it won't work after so long. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I wrote my good friend Patty at Sulky, and she said to me, she goes, did you try a different iron? I'm like, what the heck has iron got to do with it? They're all the same. And then I realized, wait a minute. This might be the problem. So I went to a regular home iron and I tested it, and it ironed down beautifully. So I came back to my gravity feed professional iron. I took this off, and once I took it off, it just fused on beautifully. So if you have any problems fusing, this doesn't get hot enough to fuse these down. Now the instructions say to use a medium heat with no steam. But for some reason, this just doesn't have the heat all over to do it. Now when I use this, I always use steam when I'm ironing materials and stuff, so I never noticed it before. I want to bring it to your attention in case you're having issues. So I'm just going to lay this down. Now here's a trick. There's a slick side to this. It's like a waxy paper side. That goes against the back of your fabric when you're going to use this to stabilize. Stabilizers always go to the back of your fabric. And the slick side of this stabilizer gets placed against the back of your fabric. So slick side down, and then you're going to iron across. You're going to iron across like this. This is called ironing. If you just hold the iron down like this is called pressing. Then you lift and you move. That's what they call pressing. What I'm doing right now is called ironing. Okay? Now, here's also another tip for you. When you're embroidering fabric, like towels, for example, with a lot of nap on it, you'll want to use this iron-on to the back of your towel. But don't iron too long, because some fabrics will stick to this so bad you'll have a hard time peeling it off. So you just want to run it lightly across. Remember that. Now, like I said, for this I'm going to use 2 layers because I'm using a heavy satin stitch design. So I'm fusing 2 layers onto here. And I think I got something stuck on here. Let me move this out of the way. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to iron this on. So this is really going to stabilize this fabric so it will not pucker on me when I'm embroidering. Many reasons you'll see puckering in many fabrics is because it didn't have the right amount of stabilizer on. Now this should do pretty good. This should stay on pretty good. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to iron over here a little more. My heat setting is about between 3 and 4, almost about 3 1/4 on here. Alright, that's going to do it. I'll hoop this in my magnetic hoop and then I'm going to sew it out and let you watch me. Alright, so now I'm going to go into my embroidery edit. I'm going to go to a design I have on my USB stick. Let's go with something I did for the kitchen towels before, but I'm only going to do on this because it's satin stitching. It's one color. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to set that to start stitching. And then I want to talk about needle. I am now using a top stitch size 16. This is a 16 needle, and right now I'm using Schmetz. All right, let's move over. Okay, so I have my magnetic hoop hooped, and it's already threaded. Lower the foot and let's start. Whoops, what did I do wrong? Finish editing. Okay, I got to finish editing, sewing. There we go. All right, now let's go. Now that always happens on metallic threads on this machine. Whenever it cuts and moves to a different area, it always pops out of the needle. It's been like this since the beginning. It's just the way it is. Now my Janome doesn't do this, but my Baby Lock always has, and my brother always has. So I have to usually rethread it, or just shut the jump thread cutting off while it's sewing with the metallic thread so it doesn't pop out of the needle. But then I have spider webs to cut. Alright, so now, as I said in hindsight, this design was a little too dense for this lightweight fabric, even though I have 2 layers of soluble iron-on tearaway stabilizer. Let me back this up for you so you can see more. There we go. Alright, so you can see I do have a little puckering. You see that? Little puckering. So what I would do is I would take this back into my editing software and I would loosen up this density. That's what I would do. So on my sewing machine, I have a density that I can loosen up the density. And I'm going to loosen it. It says 90%. And there's 85%. I can go down probably, let's see here, I can go down to 80%. So I think if I maybe knock it down maybe 20%, let's try 15%. and then I'll stitch this out again and we'll see what happens. Alright, so let's hit the play button and let's try this at 85% density. Well, look at that. The thread didn't pop out that time. And look how pucker free this is. This came out so much less puckered than the other one. I'll compare the two and you'll be able to see. Alright, so what do you see? Do you see a big difference? This here is 100% density. And this here is 85% density. Now the first thing I notice is over here it was puckering tight. And over here it's not so puckered tight. The same fabric, same 2 layers of tearaway iron-on stabilizer, and I lighten the density in this. It's same thread. So we look at this, you can see, and we look at this, you can see it's so much it's laying better, laying down better, laying smoother. So always remember the density of your design to how thick the fabric is, and how many layers of stabilizer you need. So possibly this one here may have taken 3 or 4 layers of stabilizer to prevent that puckering, but in all actuality, it just the design density need to be loosened up. So here is 85%. Now if I've gone down to 75%, it would have been even looser and it would have had absolutely no pucker at all. So I hope this was a great lesson for you all to understand and learn about density and stabilizing, because it's really, really important. Really important to know these things. Alright? Alright, until my next video, you take care, and I hope this is something you learned. Bye now.